Welcome to the latest episode of Something from the Margin of My Bible. This week we're going to be in Joshua chapter 7. Of course, the book of Joshua, some have called a high point of the Old Testament, but Joshua chapter 7 is kind of a low point in the middle of that high point. Early on in this chapter, you have the people defeated to Ai or Ai after they've won at Jericho, but then the bulk of the chapter is spent dealing with this man that we know as Achan, and we're going to deal with a note that comes to do with him in Joshua chapter 7, verses 14 and 15. Those verses say this: "In the morning, therefore, you shall be brought near by your tribes, and the tribe that the Lord takes by lot shall come near by clans, and the clan that the Lord takes shall come near by households, and the household that the Lord takes shall come near man by man. And he who is taken with the devoted things shall be burned with fire, he and all that he has, because he has transgressed the covenant of the Lord, and because he has done an outrageous thing in Israel." Now, something that a lot of people do in marking their Bibles, and I try to from time to time, is mark repeating words or repeating phrases. And you may have noticed that in those couple of verses, again, Joshua 7, verses 14 and 15, you have the same word three times and a very similar word a fourth time. You have in verse 14 the word takes three times, and then in verse 15 you have the word taken. And so in my Bible, I have boxed in those four words, takes, and takes in verse 14, and then taken in verse 15. I've connected them together. But I also have a note, besides just, the visual realization that they are repeated. I've put in the margin of my Bible this note: usually used of capturing an enemy, so shows an act of warfare by God against this enemy of the covenant. And by the way, in that note, I have the word warfare in quotation marks. But here again is that note about the word takes and taken. Usually used of capturing an enemy, so shows an act of warfare by God against this enemy of the covenant. The word taken, of course, is often used in warfare in the Old Testament, take bounty or take the people or the spoils. But here is talking about God taking the people and then taking a smaller group of people and then taking a smaller group of people. And then in verse 15, he who has taken, in other words, the one who's done what's wrong, God was going to destroy because of that wrongdoing. But by using a word that sometimes is used in a military way, it gives even more strength to what was going on here by reminding the people who were around that they needed to be true to the covenant and not fall into, if you please, warfare or being an enemy of the covenant. So I hope that note encourages your Bible study. Again, Joshua 7, 14 and 15. I have boxed in the words three times, the word takes and the word taken, and the margin written, usually used of capturing an enemy, and so shows an act of warfare by God against the enemy of the covenant. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again next time with something else from the margin of my Bible.